All right.
All right. Welcome to the penultimate, I think the penultimate session of the Impact Funding Summit um, held by Meraklis. And it's been a fabulous 3 days. So we've listened to some brilliant speakers. We've heard from very inspirational speakers. We've heard from people with access to knowledge, experience, government, technology about what we are going through and what will come next and how we can move forward. I have the greatest pleasure in introducing the next speaker to you. It's a fireside conversation I will have with a friend of mine who I've known for now, as he corrected me, over 36 years. And I have known him since he was a little boy. He was extremely naughty. And I think naughty in the city, no, I think he was the naughtiest child I ever knew. And
That's my nature.
he wasn't exactly keen to study. He just wanted to explore the world, explore himself, and that's about it. Getting him to class was a chore. His parents really worked hard at that, I know. But the amazing thing about him and what I have seen over the years is that he has grown by leaps and bounds. He's become like, you know what, a little seed becomes like the mighty banyan. This is what I think of when I think of Kunal Sood. So, ladies and gentlemen, and anyone listening to this session, Kunal Sood is an inspiration. And through this conversation, you will know exactly why I say that. I'm extremely proud to know him and to have known him for all these years that I do. He is like family. I would say he is family. And I want to share his experience here from his words with you this evening. Little background on Kunal before we jump into it. To the beginning of where he started. He's a world-renowned social entrepreneur. He's a disruptive innovator. He has a MSc from UCSF, an MBA from Kellogg, an MA MPhil from UPenn, and is currently an innovation fellow at Columbia University. I mean, for a kid who did not want to study, that's a whole lot of education. So, Kunal, let's start with your childhood in India. That would be a great start.
Sure. It's true. I I hated studying back in India because the reason why was because I grew up a very inquisitive child, and in India, as you well know, asking why is not the right question to start out in school. You need to know how to and what to do. But if you start asking why, it's more of an adult question, like an R-rated question. And I started really young, and you well said, naughty by nature. So I asked the question why, because I usually start with why in my life. So I'm going to take you on a little journey, Durga. You've been through part of this journey because you were part of my, let's call it, youth rehabilitation program. And as a child, I remember two things very clearly. One is I was born into a lot of love and affection. I wasn't born into a family that, where I didn't feel like I belonged, but I definitely did feel like I was different. So I always called myself the black Labrador of the family growing up, born into a tribe of golden retrievers. And as the black lab of the family, I had certain uh, reasons for being a misfit. And in the beginning, I felt that just right out the gates with who I was, with the reasons, the ways I'd ask questions. And then it became more prominent and evident to me that I need to do more in my life. And this was at the age of 6. You know how people say they dream of being an astronaut or fireman or doctor, lawyer, engineer. In the case of Indians, so doctor, lawyer, engineer, businessman. I never had any of those visions. I always emulated Hercules and Iron Man, those kinds of, the Black Panther, those kinds of heroic models of the hero's journey. No, but I think the truth needs to be out there. I went from Harrington House to a very cool school, which was Tishal, right? And in every cool school, you have bullies, right? So ironically, I was really obese as a child. You remember I was the Rasna kid, that kid who drinks the whole
Yes.
jug of Rasna. Um, and I remember when I was growing up, I was really excited to be at Sisha because it was considered the coolest school on the planet in Madras, because that was my planet, right? It was Chennai and Madras was my planet. I didn't know New
Yes.
York, and I didn't know what I do now, Silicon Valley. So I felt like I'd hit the lottery ticket when my parents put me in Sisha. And then I experienced bullying for the first time in my life. And I had this, and black labs don't do well with bullying because we kind of are rescuers by nature. So
Mm,
I always went into a victimhood place, or maybe I need to do more, maybe I need to buy their affection, maybe I need to be accepted as a human being,
right.
into the groups that I was a part of. And as a child, I really found it hard because I just really, one of the gifts I got was, suffering, which was really painful at the time. I was only, um, I think, 8 years old. And, I didn't have any friends because I was so different physically.
Right.
And also, I was very affectionate, right? And
Yes.
that what was construed as naughty. But I grew up in a very affectionate family. So for me, hugging and kissing someone, from a place of affection was very like normal. But then I didn't realize there were boundaries and borders and restrictions around what that felt like in a school like this year. So I learned very quickly. I was disciplined by the teachers as well as the students. But the thing is, I became this target for bullying, right? And they kept coming back. And bullies don't work in ones; they always come in packs, like three or four of them, right? And
Yes.
they always attack you where you hurt the most or you're most wounded. So I had this really interesting path where I went through the cycle of bullying and I went through victimhood, and there were all these bystanders, and then there was me, and then there was the perpetrators, and there were collaborators who used to love like bringing more bullies in to see how much can they, sting the beast. And so at some point, I realized that I had to do something. And it was really my mother's love and trust in the family that allowed me to morph from being a Black Panther, a Black Labrador, into a Black Panther. And when I did that, when I metamorphosis, this metamorphosis happened to me going from being a Black Lab to a Black Panther, I really realized that I had almost omnipotently powerful capabilities of protecting myself. So from being bullied, I went to becoming a bully's bully. So I took
Oh, okay.
on all four of these guys, or all three of these guys at once. And when I used to do that, I used to do that from a place of truly not a place of I wasn't proud. I didn't like even the idea of being a beast that could take on bullies. In fact, if anything, I wanted the opposite. I wanted to go back into my Black Labrador mode, be loving and be affectionate and do things, with a sense of fellowship and friendship and brotherhood and sisterhood. So,
Sure.
um, and then the interesting thing is, then all of a sudden, these other kids who'd been bullied, who weren't like me, who weren't big and weren't, the same size, they came to be protected. So I kind of got this interesting new avatar of being a guardian or a protector within that, you know, within that uh, level of being a student. And then that's when I really took pride in taking care of those that were weaker than me, right? And that kind of formed my trajectory into life. So, it got me in a lot of trouble. I mean, I was in so much trouble all the time at school, it wasn't funny. Because once I hated being the bully of the bullies. And then on top of that, now I had this newfound superpower of being the protector and the guardian of these, weak and vulnerable people. And that's actually when I met you. And I started, they thought cricket might help me because I was so different from all the kids out there. And the cricket piece was really interesting because that did help me regulate, but it still wasn't at my core. It wasn't something I was passionate about because I always dreamed of the hero's journey and I always dreamed of what the heroes would do. Um, and yes, that was school. And then, I grew up and I had a tough time educating as a child, like even through high school. Then I went to DAV, which was a completely different league of abuse. Like They're the bullies with the actual teachers. They beat the crap out of you. And you know this in India, where they love beating the students because they took pride in it. Like they take a wooden scale, and if it broke on my hand, then the whole class would laugh. And then I remember this is one incident. The teacher got so upset because he felt shamed because the ruler broke, right? And so he would hit me so much, he would break a chair on my head, right? To a point where I would bleed. Yeah, this is amazing that these things would happen, and we would shy away from getting the stories of abuse because that's just how our culture is. But this is what inspired me again to become an outlier. And I remember uh, I didn't do well in school at DAV, and then I decided never to go back to DAV. And even though my parents tried to push me to go back because it was the school that grooms you for IIT and you know all of those great things in life. So then my mom, touch wood, sent me outside the country. I went to Singapore, New Zealand, and I think when I reached New Zealand was when I was really obese. I was like, my God, I was 360 pounds. That roughly, translates to about 104, 50 kilos or something like that. Really not in a healthy place, right? Um, and what happened was I started to really dream about making these dreams of being a hero a reality. And I set my sights on, with the force of nature to really lose all of my weight. And I lost, if you remember,
Yes, I do.
250 pounds. And I became like Bruce Lee. That was my dream to, go down to 148 because I'd studied his biography at whatever percent of body fat he was. I didn't get the body fat, but I got the weight. And, I was so proud of myself. But then my second step was to go the distance and become fit and strong and functional. And I did that over the course of a couple of years, and I came back to India. Now, this is where it hits rock bottom because even though I'd really transformed physically, right, I was only 19 years old. And through that journey, I remember one thing that I learned was I didn't train as hard as I trained really hard physically, but I didn't train my mind and my
Yes,
emotional intelligence and my character strengths to match that physical strength, right? So if my physical strength was here, these traits were here. So there was a huge delta between the two. And
right.
so after that, I remember when I was in India, my dream was to be a model. And my parents said, over our dead bodies, meaning you cannot do that. You can do anything but that. And for right reason, the modeling industry is pretty hardcore and pretty
Yes,
brutal, right? And so of course, I wouldn't cross my parents. That's the first time I ever experienced clinical depression. And this is something that I want to talk about very seriously here and now. Wasn't supposed to be the topic of conversation. I'm supposed to talk about social impact investing, but I believe the mind is key towards any kind of investment you make in yourself. Because without that inner transformation, without that strength of inner um, resilience and strength, no amount of money or power or any kind of extraordinary ability you have in the world will translate into exponential impact.
right,
So we know that Sushant just committed suicide recently. He was a Bollywood
right.
actor, and I have a couple of friends of mine who are very close to him who are speaking tomorrow on Father's Day. And I think it's important for men, especially in our country, fathers and sons, and mothers and daughters, to really embrace the idea of mental illness and depression. Um, I feel like there is a gap that exists here and now where we've trumped mental health for success. Meaning, if you're married, you have kids, you have a good job, and you have a great career path, that's all that matters. Whereas life isn't that linear. It actually is more like, not a straight line. It's like drawing a jigsaw puzzle around yourself. So the reason I tell that story is because I hit rock bottom when I came home, and because I felt like I was the world's biggest failure in the family, having not succeeded at um, embracing the family business, and this is when I was 19, by the way, not like, and I felt like I was lost. And the reason I felt this way was because I was so powerful physically that these other character strengths and, just strengths of emotion and also skills of life were so low. And then that's when I decided to, tell my parents that I think I should go. And when I said I should go, I meant that I'm going to end this journey of life. And thank God for my parents having more resilience than most parents. They didn't they didn't just let me go. They really stood by me all the way. And then there was, of course, this doctor who was like a father figure of mine, Dr. Cherry, who truly, like, really stepped in as a, force for a blessing, really a force for good, in my life, and kind of gave me the wings or the wind beneath my wings to just pick back up. And I came to America.
Have a glass of water, Kunal.
No, no,
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I know it's an emotional journey, and it's important to share this part of this journey because I want you to now show them how you took flight into where you are today, and this emotional part of the journey. I have been with you, and I feel what you feel.
I feel like the most important thing about this is don't be afraid to go into the darkness. See, we all try to move into the light immediately. That's not necessary. Like, my story starts here, where I'm at in New York. I'm in the most amount of pain in my life.
Yes.
And this country saved my life. My country couldn't save me. My country just didn't have what it took at the time to save me. Just like Bollywood, with all this progress, didn't have what it takes to save his life. And I feel like that needs to change.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then what happened was my life changed. I became a fashion designer. So instead of becoming a model, I went to the back end and I started studying how to design and create extraordinary lines of clothing and experiences. And what happened was I leapfrogged into a new world. And I still kept at the center my love for health and well-being. But I managed to get out of the pain. And then, of course, my life then completely shifted because I was at Parsons and I graduated Parsons, and then I was invited back to India to work with Dr. Cherry, which was the biggest honor on the face of the planet because, me being a fashion designer, didn't know what the significance of a white coat was. Put on a white coat, got it designed for my dear friend Rohane Dala, who's back home. She's a very famous designer in the South and probably around the world now. But back then, she was, beginning her trajectory into the national sphere of fame. And she made me a white coat. So I didn't know white coats were so laborious to work for 9 years before you got the white coat. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh my God, I'm next to the most extraordinary man on the planet who saved my life a decade ago. Right? I was 26 or 25, and he really did play a role in saving my life. And then I lost him in that journey. He committed suicide himself a year into that. So that took me into a completely different world, where from being a victim, I became a witness to what my family may have gone through had I taken that painful leap. And I feel like I tell the story because we're in the COVID era, right? And the first thing about COVID-19 is to bear your pain and to bear that pain from within. Whether it's body pain or mind or family or community or work, you have to bear your own pain. I suffered tremendously when I lost Dr. Cherry. I had PTSD and things that I didn't even learn about or know about. And then God bless my parents, allowed me to set myself free of, the family business as well as what I originally signed up for. And I came back to America, and this country saved my life not once but twice. The second time first time for myself, second time for someone I really loved. And I went deep into the science of death and dying. And I studied to be an integral counseling psychologist. And I worked in the death and dying world. And I learned from people that were dying what it felt to be like in those moments in time when you face death right in the eye. And that taught me the most about what I do here and now. And the one lesson I learned there was, most of them really wanted one of the most extraordinary lives that was true to themselves. They're not one that they live trying to impress others, or one of what others expected of them. And that's the first. And the second thing that I learned was that we all actually derive the most um, satisfaction out of doing something for others and doing something that's larger than us. So that really taught me a lot, that experience. And then I went into the slums of Mumbai as a global health scientist with Harvard and UCSF. And
Now,
then,
just for a second, I want you to speak from one place. You're breaking in and out, so to stay where your microphone is clear all the time. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
And what happened was there was this moment in time that I felt like, I was back in India. I was with Harvard, and I thought I'd really found something that was like a dream come true. A global mental health study that was started by the Harvard School for Public Health at the Rockefeller Center in the slums of Mumbai. And at that time, I found out that um, this study is going to completely radically shift my life, because that's when I went back to America after having done that study, and I learned my biggest lesson ever, which is it doesn't matter which institution you come from, whether it's Penn or Harvard or UCSF. What matters most is you are certified and honored by the community you serve. So in that time, it was the people in the slums of Mumbai, and they taught me gratitude as well as
So this is
resilience.
at Dharavi?
This was not in Dharavi. Actually, this was even worse than Dharavi. Dharavi was already pretty cleaned up because this study was actually inspired by the movie Slumdog Millionaire. So they started doing Dharavi tours, right, at the time. So this was actually Kaula Bandar, which was on the banks of the seaport of Mumbai. And they were so arduously difficult. So I came back and I realized two things. One, most of these researchers from Harvard and Stanford and UCSF, myself included, and the kids on the ground didn't have a voice. They didn't have the resources. So I pivoted and I moved my whole life's work into going to B school. And I went to business school at Kellogg, right? So I really turned it around. And that's where I came across the idea of TED. And I did my first TEDx at San Francisco's UCSF, my alma mater. And I remember I dedicated that one to Dr. Cherry. And then I started dreaming really massive. Like, what could we do that's much bigger than this? And so I decided to do TEDx at the United Nations.
Ah,
And yeah, so I envisioned that in my mind's eye, listening to music. I don't know if any of you guys do this, but one of the most powerful catalysts to make your dreams come true is if you find a soundtrack or a song that you love, and then you just start envisioning, mentally visualizing that truth coming true. And it kind of ironically manifests in some way, shape, or form into your reality in the future. So be careful of what you dream of or think about.
absolutely.
Because your thoughts could become truth, right? And manifest into your own destiny. So that's what I did. And I always envisioned me at the podium, not myself, but with these kinds of people that have been hurt, right, and affected. And the music was from the song of the movie Blood Diamonds. So that soundtrack, right? And it was all about human rights and, bringing people to a place where they can find, live, and achieve their massive transformative purpose. And really allowing them to make the impossible possible. And I do that through creating the conditions. And I believe TED, for example, which is, I was TED resident at TED, and TEDx gave me those wings to be able to give people a voice, to allow them to connect, the worlds of power and influence to meaning and purpose. And I did that at the UN and with TED. And then I did my own summits. I launched NOVUS, which was really, it was kind of the scariest and the most extraordinary moment in time, because I actually felt the transition from being held, with, another organization to going out on my own. And when I went out on my own, it was pretty amazing. I did it small because I didn't want to start big. And then as soon as I leapfrogged that place of fear, um, I realized that Novus had kind of like arrived, and we did it first in San Francisco, was something really boutique, and then we did it at the UN General Assembly, which was unbelievable, and
Yes.
that really was like a magnum opus moment in my life, and like a moonshot.
Which was
Yeah.
that event you had where you had, what was it, from The Lion King? The song
Oh,
from,
that was
which one was that?
that was the first one. That was TEDx at the United Nations,
Yes,
where
I remember that.
he sang the song "He Lives in Me," which is a song that allowed me to get through the death of my doctor, Cherian.
Yes,
He
I
lives
remember.
in me. That's always something I've held as a belief in my heart, is that the people that affect you, they leave everything behind, but the most important thing they leave behind is, one is their legacy, and two is the sentiment of how they affected you in your life. So he affected me with a lot of grace, right? And
Yes,
losing him was, the hardest, but the most powerful uh, catalyst towards my path. So I'm here now, and yes, I have a Lion King, and we've had an unbelievable people grace the stages of the UN. But I still say the most powerful thing is not those, Grammy Award winning artists and Academy Award winning artists alone. It's the power of connecting those, those diamonds in the ground, those rough, uncut diamonds, which I consider India as probably the most extraordinary nation in the world to really rise. Because I feel like in the next decade, especially, my dream is to cultivate and curate and mentor uh, a whole legion of social entrepreneurs that become iron men and women, you know,
fab-
truly are focused on not only making $1 billion, but impacting 1 billion lives, transforming 1 billion lives positively, so that we can solve for these global grand challenges. And that's what I think separates the global social entrepreneurs from the global entrepreneurs of today, is
right.
they're not just focused on the bottom line and shareholder value. They're really focused on a triple bottom line, which allows you to really live into your massive transformative purpose and really find what you're passionate about and achieve it in a way that you impact people's lives positively. And that's something that I'm really passionate about. That's why I'm excited to come home and partake in these forums, because I want to really inspire Indians out there in the world to do that, to really lean into your X factor, into your outline, into your black Labrador or black Panther self. The things that you were always told were not right about you or naughty, or really lean into that and find the gift within, because there's a diamond that always shines in that dark space. And that's what I feel needs to happen here and now, is that we all need to lean in and dig deep during COVID-19, because it's a perfect time to reflect on what matters to us the most and why. I feel like that's where I am here and now with my journey, is to really allow people to find and unleash their exponential potential.
So you would consider that this time that we're all going through this COVID-19, and specifically, I would say, not just the entrepreneurs, but the people as a whole, the same fears that we would have felt as children, maybe when we were bullied in school, or when we were trying to explore something that we wanted to shine in, and we were restricted and challenged. Those things that we go through in our childhood, and then as adults, either we have buried them deep within and moved on in our life, never faced them again, or we have learned to somehow cope and kind of work around them, find the work around methods that we always do as human beings. And you think this is a time that inner fear has been unleashed in people, because it has taken us by surprise. It's a worldwide pandemic, and this is probably a time when our weaknesses are somehow exposed. And it doesn't matter how much you studied, how much money you have. It hurt the rich, it hurt the poor, it hurt the developed and the underdeveloped, right? So, do you believe those experiences you shared from your childhood to how you kind of overcame them to the things you're doing now? Do you think this moment in time that we're going through is somewhat akin to that, something that we can map? And if so, what is the way forward to kind of reflect back on your story of how you overcame? Could there be a connect that you can share?
Sure. I definitely think your experience, your past experiences, really do affect and allow for you to learn from your present and uh, help you design a better future. But I don't think it should hold you down. So don't let the weeds of your past become something that weighs you down in the present. I feel like the COVID-19 crisis, when it started, really served to be a great equalizer or a great reset. We're all calling it the, the greatest lockdown, or but the truth is, I think it's also showed us like the best and the worst of ourselves. So I don't believe that humanity has learned enough. I feel like the COVID-19 crisis actually is giving us this new French Revolution moment of it was the best of times and it was the worst of times. And we're really seeing it manifest from a capitalistic standpoint. Some people are getting sickeningly rich, and some people are dying of starvation and mental health and taking their own lives. Even, there's a joke like, I don't know if I'm going to die of COVID-19 or this new life, is going to kill me first. So the idea of really, being present, staying still within yourself, and taking inventory of what matters to you the most. And it's not bad. I don't think it's bad at all if you want to make a ton of money in this climate. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that you must um, not make any money and you must give all your money away. That's not my message. My
Right.
message is that you seize opportunity with a sense of integrity, where around you make this money and try to pay it forward to those that don't have the opportunity that you do, right? So investors have that gift of being able to raise money because they've kind of understood the language of money and how it needs to be raised, whether it's high water times or low tide. You kind of know the language. So if you know the language of how to raise the capital you need, try and find a way to pay it forward to those that don't understand that language. So I would really invite everyone to really make giving the norm and not the exception in this moment in time. And I feel like, yes, all of my past experiences have allowed me to, rise up to this moment. In fact, especially my training at UCSF, I was trained as a global health scientist. Me and my friends were all doctors, by the way, in the front lines right here in New York City. One's on the mayor's task force, one's in NYU holding up the fort for the whole center. It's become a COVID unit.
Wow.
And we joked when they started saying, "Oh my God, we were trained, not only born, but we were trained for this." And we joked because they were really excited because they're getting all this data. Finally, they feel like they have a real purpose in life in addition to just being a doctor. And there was this little superhero activation going on, right? And then what happened, I feel that was really sad, is they weren't given the dignity around having the right kind of protective equipment and just the right kind of resources. And so it started to wear them down, you know? And so
Wow.
I think that's the most important thing, is to build a sense of inner strength and resilience, so that it's not about how hard you can hit, it's about how hard you can get hit, get back up, and keep moving forward. That's what I really believe this moment in time you have to learn is you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get knocked down really hard, whether it's by COVID-19 or the market or just people around you, that backstab you, because they will, because we're going into this weird world of it's all, in it for myself, however much we want to believe that we're not. And then we can actually co-create a world which is a world that's not about me, but about we. So I think there's this huge opportunity here and now that we can really uh, achieve, something that's really impossible. Um, and talk about the power of possibility in a post-COVID era. This is it. We can really architect an extraordinary future. We can either go into a world which is like Mad Max, or we can really create a better future, which is about ushering in a whole new era of human prosperity and planetary flourishing. And I think we should really look at that. Planetary flourishing is very important.
Do you think living in New York and far more developed world. And then here in India, and India as well as anyone else does. Um, and we are talking about the power of possibility, right? We've we have been building our businesses, our lives, our livelihoods. Our rich and poor, are completely exclusive of each other in these countries. This global pandemic has brought us all onto the same football field, in a manner of speaking.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's a power of possibility here that this could actually bridge those gaps? We could find the next generation actually working in closer interaction with each other rather than in their own isolated, protected zones. Is there such a transformation that's possible? Is there a platform? Is there a vision that you could probably bring about?
So yeah, I believe it is possible. I've been doing my homework, and it's contrary to the fact everyone in India thinks it's not possible, and people are really focused on the bottom line, and they don't really care about impact or impact investing, or the idea of creating a better world for the future. But I believe that there is a small group of extraordinary citizens that are out there in India and right here in New York, around the world, that do want this future to be the most extraordinary exponential one we have, and are focused on a bigger legacy than just about how much money you have in the bank. So I really do believe that India, if anywhere in the world we have an opportunity to create that legacy of an exponential legacy of transforming our world for a better future, I feel India is the perfect, in fact, probably the most ideal country to model us for the rest of the world. And we have the numbers.
Yeah.
Step one, we have the numbers. Two, we have the values. And I haven't heard too many people that from this country or most other countries say, I went to India and it did nothing for me. Most of them come back saying it changed my life. And it's not about the poverty, it's about the fact that poverty exists with so much abundance. Meaning that a child with nothing can still smile at you and share his cup of tea, which is probably the water he has for the whole week, without getting afraid that he's going to lose that in his life, And he doesn't even know if he's going to live that long. And so for me, that's the magic and blessing of India, is that we come from a culture of massive um, generosity and values. Our family values, we really have extraordinary family traditions and values. Um, I feel like that is one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves, is to believe in the power of the people of our country. So yeah, I have tremendous faith that, contrary to the studies that I've done, I feel there are a small pocket of extraordinary citizens in India, which would probably amount to a whole country somewhere else, and will make the impossible possible for the future in a post-COVID era. Yeah, I really believe that.
Wonderful. So, you have some plans? What next? You
Yeah,
want to
I've
talk a
got
little bit
big
about
plans.
that?
So I've got a lot of big plans. One of my favorite plans for the future is to come back home and live a hybrid life, to spend more time back home in India, to cultivate these social entrepreneurs. It's a new breed that's really, seems to be a contagion that's taking hold of our country, especially amongst the youngsters and the millennials and the Gen
Right.
Z generation. They all want to do well by doing good, you know. So yeah, I'm excited about coming home. We've got two really exciting projects. One is We the Planet that we started, which is a movement to unite the youth and the elders around taking action for the global goals of the United Nations, as well as taking just action period, uniting the left and the right, which I feel is so important. Having Congress and BJP start to really work as one, which is truly one of the most powerful things we can do, because I believe that politics with good business will create a better future. So yeah, I'm looking at that exponential governance meets exponential organizations model, which will come together to create the trifecta we need, along with the social entrepreneurs and the impact investors and the citizens of India, period. To give them more opportunity, and just to help people rise from the grassroots. I feel like there is this massive opportunity for all of us to unite from the bottom to the top. and really not look at the top as evil or, the bottom is useless, and really have that unity so that we're not divided as 99 and 1%, but together we become 100%.
So there's a question that's come up, and I think it's probably the right time to address it as well.
Yeah.
Let me read it out. I felt vulnerable to share my dreams. I got affected by criticism and mocking due to lack of previous experience. But now I decided to speak out that I want to create 1 million jobs for people by 2030. Will people support me? And I think the add on to that question, which was asked earlier itself, is how do I get into such a network of people who can share in the vision? So what would be your, your advice or your suggestions to people who want to believe in such dreams, the kind of dreams you have, and you have a game plan of how you are going to get around it? Is there something you can share without sharing your secret sauce probably, but would you share with them to how they can get to their secret, their dreams?
I feel like at this point, I don't even know how long I'm going to live. I'll give you my secret sauce for free because I don't think anyone's sauce belongs to them. It belongs to the divine. So I would say, find your community. And for me, my community really was late in life. I didn't find it in this country. Unfortunately, I didn't find it in India. Now I'm going to come back to India and try and find or create that community through, launching the SDG Moonshots endeavor in 2-3 weeks from now when we do SDG Moonshots in July. And I would say, there are different communities that I know for a fact that truly affected my life. One was TED. TED really allowed me to dream big. The other was XPRIZE. Peter Diamandis has been a force that has inspired all of my work throughout my trajectory in the past 7 years. I feel he's been something when I started at Singularity University. That's something, I'd love for you to explore. It's really finding your group, that small group of committed citizens that allow you to speak your truth and then live it. And 1 million jobs, honestly, in India shouldn't be difficult because the truth is, you have the numbers. So I would say you should, cut that down to 2025, and then maybe ramp that up to 10 million by 2030. Secondly, people will support you if you reach out. The most important thing to know, and this is going back to mental health, is that we often feel like we're alone because we don't ask for what we need, right? Especially if you're a giver, you just don't know how to ask for what you need. You know how to give other people what they need. So I'd say that, you want to make sure that you ask for what you need and know that you're not alone. You can reach out to me, you can reach out to Durga. We'll always take the time to help you to think through the steps of where you need to go next. So I would say, one is definitely find your community of extraordinary citizens that you want to affect change with in the world. So that's TED, Singularity University, XPRIZE, and even in India, there's a friend of mine, Lakshmi, that has something called Ink Talks. She has something called the Ink Fellows. One of my dearest friends, who's my partner at work, is openly Expo Salim Ismail. He's coming into India in a big way. I'm going to bring him. We're going to partner come into India. So this is happening. It's a good time for you to dream big. Not only dream big, but reach out and ask for support around that. And the most important thing, beyond just the communities that you join and become a part of, is that you must develop the right mindset. And you also have to develop your skill set. Because don't forget, one thing that I hate being is the bystander, right? You have to take a stand. And by taking a stand, that means you become a true contributor to your group. Because that way, they will be able to allow you to lean into and realize your massive transformative purpose, which is helping 1 million people get jobs in India by 2030. And I feel like that's the most key thing towards a true fellowship that becomes one that is about give and take and reciprocity, right? So make sure that you always are, in a sense, living an ikigai life, which is the book I would recommend you read. And also just Kaizen, keep growing. Don't stop. Develop the mindset of growing all the time. Know that, look, for example, if Elon Musk, Bill Gates, they lost everything they have, all the billions of dollars, all the rockets went crap because of COVID-19. they'd be okay because they've developed a mindset and a skill set that match their ability to rise back up even after losing everything. And I think that's one of the most important things you can do here and now is to learn from the role models that have really been able to shape the destiny and the future of humanity, and use that as a source of inspiration for yourself to launch into making the impossible possible and finding your moonshot. Really find it, live it, believe that you can do it. I really believe you can. Is that Bindu? Yeah, Bindu. And I mean, the truth is, I personally believe that the future really does belong to women, right? It's going to be very important for women to lead with more strength. And I believe that we need to create a new knights table, not one which allows a woman to have a seat at the table, but truly that re re-engineers and reframes what it means to be a woman at the table. And not just 50-50, maybe even 80-20, just like men, or 90-10, just one man at the table and it's all women. Because you look at the post-COVID-19 era, all the countries that are being run by women are almost COVID-free, New Zealand being one of them. So you have to lead by example as well as look at the data. Don't listen to me because I'm saying it. I'm looking at the data and saying, that if women are allowed and empowered to lead alongside men, where men and women truly unite, we really could make the impossible possible. So that's my thesis. I really believe women in power and in places of leadership is so important for the future. And I commend you for taking that, that leap forward and believing that you can create 1 million jobs. In fact, I say, up that to 10 million and we'll help you make that happen.
So I have a question that might be on the minds of some of the listeners, right? So one is about going through pain and coming to terms with it. Then, of course, staying motivated to go the course and then find the right support system and the people who have inspired you, and then to ideate and keep moving forward and creating new opportunities for yourself, and don't wait for someone else to give it to you. Having said all that, is there something that you do or have been doing, which is either meditation, or is it being quiet? Is it reading? Is it something that you do which is not focused on the action that needs to be done, but that leads to creating the power to create that action? Is there something that you have been doing, or is there something that you think others should do?
Well, if I was to give you advice, I would say you should meditate, read, do all those things. I am the worst person to lead by example around meditation and reading and reflecting. I kind of took that line out of Iron Man in the movie when, they were going after Thor and, Captain America says, we need a plan. And Iron Man says, I have a plan, attack, and just jumps in. So that's me. But I don't know if that prescription works for everyone because I bleed from my fingers. I have tremendous stress in the work that I do. But I think the most important thing that I've learned through that process of metamorphosis and transformation is that I lean into my pain very boldly. I lean into bearing my pain and thresholds of pain and really testing my limits. Like, can I do this? It's impossible. My God, Kunal, this is impossible. What's wrong with you? You're crazy. You're going to do this? Are you nuts? That's exactly what people around me said or say, right? But I lean into it so much because I believe that the greatest gift in life is when you can bear your own pain for others and create conditions for others to succeed. And if you can bear your pain and you can fight through it to come out on the other side and experience hope, right? Then you can share that as a gift with everyone else. So for me, I've always been one of not being afraid of suffering, not being afraid of the pain. It's more important that you can bear the pain so much that it becomes a gift to those that you love and those that you serve. So to lead in life of service really is about overcoming the suffering and becoming strong, without fear or favor. So you can do things that allow you to really live into your best self. And that's how I do it. Now, on the other hand, do I wish I would read more? 100%. Read much more. Do I wish I would meditate? 100%. I think it's a superpower that I need to inculcate into my life. I think meditation might give me the ability to slow down because I'm a rapid speed move forward. I pride myself on like almost like some kind of train, bullet train that's coming out of nowhere. And I pride myself on being the avatars of Iron Man, Black Panther. So I think the idea of just leaning back and hoping to reflect deeply and meditate would be very powerful. I would also say journaling is a very strong and important thing to do to take, uh, you know, um, take a stance in your life where you can journal, because ultimately we all are storytellers, and not just as filmmakers. We are storytellers as human beings, and the stories we tell ourselves, and the stories we tell others, and the stories we tell the world become our truth because we pretty much embody that truth. No one can take away what I've done in my life. No one can take suffering away. No one can take my achievement away. No one can take away the fact that I give and I love giving and I come from a place of uh, making the impossible possible, right? And I think that's what's most important in life is that you have to live a life that's true to yourself in service of others and really keep making yourself better every day. And it doesn't mean you have to be a billionaire. Like I said, my goal is not to become a billionaire. My goal is to transform a billion lives on the face of this planet. So, whatever your personal goal is, I think, set the rituals in place, whether it's meditation, reading, writing, storytelling, and creating. For me, it's really creating design. I feel like how I meditate personally is I listen to a lot of music. And when I listen to that music, I really visualize. I literally guide it through my guided imagery in my mind's eye. It becomes something that manifests into my life's work. That's how I meditate, if you want to call that meditation.
It is.
But
It is a form of meditation. Absolutely right. So
yeah,
we're coming to an end of this session, but I want to pick up two things that you said, one in the beginning and one at the end, and I think both are very powerful statements. One is you will manifest what you believe, right? So if you believe that you're a super person and you can achieve super goals, you will manifest it in your life. If you can believe in hope and joy and peace, you will manifest that in your life. And the second point that Kunal made that is very powerful is that pain is everywhere. Pain is inevitable. It says, like Buddha said, Jivanam Dukkam. Uh, but take that pain and convert that into positive energy. When he said, lean into my pain, what I take away from that is embrace it so deeply that that energy becomes his strength to create positive change in his own life. And I think those are two very, very powerful statements. And I think that's what embodies Kunal and the man that he's, and his beliefs of making the impossible possible. Kunal, that was a fabulous session.
thank you.
I
I have
learned a lot.
one last thing to say, if that's okay.
Sure.
The most important thing that I've learned in life is the African proverb that if you want to go fast, you can go alone. If you want to go fast, you can go there alone. But if you want to go far, you go there together with a team, with your family, where no one's left behind. And today, with the exponential technology and everything we have, we can do both. We can go further and faster than we've ever gone before, and we can do it together. So, the idea of being a social entrepreneur is not a lonely journey. It's actually one of fellowship. And the other thing is that I'd love to leave you with is that it's about this whole idea of pain, because I really believe in this is something I learned from a mentor of mine that courage is not the absence of fear or pain, but the judgment that something more important like love and compassion is more important than pain. So, I would say the brave may not live forever, but the cautious don't live at all. So, with that, I would frame your lives to be brave, and only the brave, can do anything and change everything. So, with that, I would invite everyone to embrace your massive transformative purpose and go out
Thank
and
you.
work
Thank you so much for spending the time with us.
Thank you so
All
much.
my best to you.
And
And
let's
we'll
be
see
with
you
you
soon.
guys. Yeah, in India with COVID-19, and stay safe and well.
We'll
And
wait for you to create change here. Thank you
thank
for
you.
spending the time with us.
All right, take care, Durga. God bless.
God bless. Bye.
Bye.